All right, so we're diving into transport equipment painters today.
Okay.
You've been looking on RoleCatcher, so I think you're starting to get a feel for this field.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, right? Because it's such a blend of like artistry
Right.
and then also like
Yeah.
really intense
It's a very detail-oriented.
skills and procedures.
Absolutely.
And we have your research right here, so we're going to dive into that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you think about like transport equipment painting,
Hmm.
you don't really realize the scope.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not just cars, it's boats, it's planes.
Right.
It's anything you can think of that you would see that would need a nice
Right.
finish on it that's going to last a long time and look good.
Wow. Yeah, like you could be the one who paints like
Yeah,
a giant jumbo jet.
absolutely.
That is so
It's a
interesting.
very specialized field.
I mean, and that's like leaving your mark on the world in a way.
It is. Yeah. It's more than just a regular job.
And, speaking of the details of this job, we noticed in the RoleCatcher excerpt, it mentioned like everything from like prepping the surfaces to
Right.
knowing about different paint types.
Absolutely.
This is way more involved than just like
Right.
taking out a can of spray paint.
It's very intricate.
It's like precision work.
Yeah. And I think that's where the work environment really comes into play too.
Okay.
Because it's not always going to be a nice, cushy workshop or anything like that. Sometimes
Right.
you're out in the field. Sometimes you're in a factory setting.
Right.
You have to be prepared to work in a lot of different places.
Yeah, they mentioned painting booths in here.
Yes.
And I'm just picturing like something out of like a sci-fi movie where it's like
That's a good way to put it.
all these like robots moving around.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes sense, right? Because you've got
Yeah, you have to contain the fumes and everything.
kind of fumes. You have to.
It's a safety thing too.
Yeah. What about the materials? Are they dangerous? Are they?
That's the thing. Like, this isn't your average,
Okay.
arts and crafts kind of thing. This is,
Yeah.
industrial strength chemicals.
Right. And so this is probably a career path then,
Yeah,
where you have to be okay with that.
absolutely.
You can't be someone who's afraid to get their hands dirty.
Yeah, you have to be detail oriented, but also you have to be able to handle,
Right.
the environment and the physicality of it.
Yeah. Like, what's a day in the life of a transport equipment painter like?
Well, and I think that's a good point to bring up because
Yeah.
it can be very physically demanding.
Okay.
You're on your feet a lot. You might be lifting heavy things.
Wow.
You might be in awkward positions.
So there's a certain level of fitness required almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be a bodybuilder or anything, but
Right.
you have to be able to,
To handle it.
to be on your feet and be moving around all day.
Wow.
And then on top of that, there's the problem solving aspect
Yeah.
because, if you're working with these chemicals and something's not mixing right.
Right. Or the weather's off or something.
Exactly. The humidity is off or something like that. You have to be able to think on your feet.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about the weather.
Yeah,
Yeah, because if you're outside painting a boat or something.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's probably only going to get more important, right? With
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue. Climate change and all that.
Yeah, definitely with everything changing, the problem-solving skills are going to be even more important.
Well, and even beyond that, I mean, the source material even mentioned automation.
Right.
Like, robots are coming for this field too.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's not just about the manual skills anymore. It's about, like, adapting to these new technologies.
And I think that's what makes it so interesting is that it's
Yeah.
a field that's constantly evolving.
Okay.
So you're not just learning a skill and then that's it. You're constantly having to learn and adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so instead of being afraid of the robots, you have to learn how to work with them.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's like a partnership.
So it's like you're not just wielding a paintbrush anymore. You're like,
Right. Yeah.
you're wielding the future.
That's a good way to put it.
But okay, let's back up for a second because we're
Yeah.
getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
If someone's just starting out, like, what does that path even look like?
So when you're first starting out,
Yeah.
you're probably going to start as an assistant
Okay.
to a more experienced painter,
Okay.
right? So like when you're starting out as an assistant, you're really getting that hands-on experience.
Oh, yeah.
Like think of those YouTube videos you see where they're like meticulously prepping a car
Right.
for a custom paint job.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're learning how to sand,
Okay.
how to prime, how to get everything perfectly smooth.
It's like learning to walk before you can run.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
And then as you progress, you get to move on to those more complicated tasks. Maybe you start working on different types of vehicles.
Right.
Maybe you're doing more specialized techniques like airbrushing or something.
So you graduate from like, I don't know, fixing a dent in a car to like
Right.
airbrushing a cool design on a motorcycle.
Exactly. And each project you do
Yeah.
helps you build your skills and your portfolio.
Right, because then you can show that off to
Exact,
future clients.
exactly. And that can open up more creative and lucrative opportunities down the line.
That's like leveling up in a video game, but instead of points, you get like skills
Exactly. It's like real world experience points.
and street cred.
Absolutely.
I like it. Okay, so you're building your skills, you're building your portfolio, but then there's also this element we read about of professional development.
Yes.
And I feel like sometimes people forget about that part.
Right. It's not just what you know.
It's not just what you know, it's who you know,
Exactly. Networking is so important.
especially in a field like this, right?
Absolutely. Because you're meeting other people in the industry, you're learning about new trends,
Right.
you're finding out about job openings, maybe even finding a mentor.
Yeah, like where do these people even meet up? Are we talking like conventions? Are there...
Yeah, there are trade shows, there are conferences.
Okay,
You can join professional organizations.
gotcha. So it's like really being a part of that community.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. And I imagine with technology changing so rapidly, there's always something new to learn.
Oh, absolutely. Like we were talking about before, automation is a big thing.
Right. Are robots going to take over the world?
Well, maybe not the whole world, but
Yeah.
they're definitely changing the industry.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to learn those new technologies and adapt.
So it's not just about being afraid of the robot. It's about like making friends with the robot.
Exactly, working with the robot.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. Okay, so we've got the hands-on skills, we've got the tech, we've got the networking hustle. But what about the actual job market? What does that look like for this? So what did they say about the job outlook? Is there even going to be a job in like 5 years?
Well, it seems like it's actually pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they said, even with the automation and everything.
Right.
The demand for skilled painters is still supposed to be like pretty steady.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. Cars, buses, planes, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's not going away anytime soon.
It's not like we're all going to be like beaming around.
Exactly. And all that equipment needs to look good.
That's true. Yeah. And be protected from the elements too.
Exactly.
Right? Because like nobody wants a rusty plane.
And I think there's always going to be that demand for that human touch.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're like a really high-end
Especially for like custom work and stuff.
client or something. You want someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, like if you have a vintage car,
Right.
you're not going to want just anyone painting that.
You want an artist.
You want someone who's like an artist,
Yeah. Wow.
who understands the history and everything.
Okay. So it's a good career path then if you
It seems like it, yeah, if you're willing to put in the work
could put in the work.
and learn and keep up with things.
And like find your niche, right?
Exactly. And that's where I think these platforms like RoleCatcher can be really helpful
Okay, how so?
because like you can connect with other people in the industry.
Okay.
You can learn about those different niches.
So it's not just about finding a job, it's about...
Yeah, it's about exploring your options,
Okay, got it.
networking, finding out what's out there.
Cool. I liked it. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have
Like everything from what these painters actually do,
the different skills,
the skills, the job
the
market.
challenges.
And I think the thing that really stands out to me is like
What's
the
that?
creative potential here.
Yeah.
It's really cool because it's like you're not just painting, you're like making art.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
You're taking something and transforming it.
So to anyone out there listening who's like
Yeah.
maybe thinking about this as a career path,
Give it a shot.
we say go for it.
Why not?
Yeah, what do you have to lose? All right, thanks for diving into this with us today.
Of course this is fun.
Until next time, happy painting, everyone.